ओ ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य म आणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वंदे गुरु परंपरां। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शंकरं लोकशंकरं। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं दर्पण दृश्यमान नगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोध समये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। नारायण 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 नारायण। Verse number 34, chapter 3. We will read the verse first and then we'll continue from where we left in the last session before moving on to the next verse. Verse number 34. इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ। इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्थिनौ. So we were seeing in the description of this verse in the last session, Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna has given another brilliant verse explaining us what he really wants us to do. What is the ladder for us to grow above all these things which we see around? All these things we consider as growth today, there is a growth higher than that which is waiting for us to be hugged, waiting for us to be embraced, waiting for us to be achieved. To walk that, to reach that level and walk that path, Bhagwan has given another verse and explaining us what we should do. So we saw most of this verse in the last session. Now we will continue from where we left in the last session and we'll see more to it before we move on to the next verse. So generally it is seen, usually or usually it is seen that a nature of a man and pushes him or her into action. What do you mean it pushes him or her into action? What do you mean by the one nature of man pushes him or her into action? So we generally see that we are pushed into action, or our motivating factor for the action or our leading factor for our action is either emanating out of our attachment or it is emanating out of our aversion, raga or dvesha. So either by the force or led by our attachments we are pushed into action, or by forced or by force of or led by our aversions or hatred we are pushed into action. And then the next question should arise is, in what is the field of action? Where does it push us into action? Which field does it push us into action? Then the point we should remember is swakarye purusham pravartayati. It's mentioned in the Bhashya Bhagavan Shankaracharya here. Swakarye means in one's own field. What is the field of one's own? So, according to our nature, the field of action is decided. So, remember one thing. So, here when I say Prakriti, I'm talking about two Prakritis here, two natures here. One is internal nature and one is external nature. Okay, depending upon our internal nature, or this in this entire external nature, lot of fields are available. So it's not that there is one common field for all of us. For a criminal, there is a field which is waiting for him to get into activity. So this whole creation is a mix of everything. I told you good, bad, ugly, or I would say extremely good, good, bad, ugly, extremely bad, whichever way you can and classify it. There is only one nature in the whole creation. In one creation, there is umpteen number of fields available for each one of us to act. But what will be the motivating and leading factor for us to act, or what will push us into act? The motivating factor will be what is the nature which has manifested or developed within us. According to our nature, the external nature, according to our internal nature, external nature will present the field in front of us to act. Now I'm giving you one example. Okay, so you will understand that. Two people went into a jewelry shop. Okay, one was a genuine buyer who wanted to buy, because his nature was that, I should go by the correct route, and with whatever I have earned, if I want to buy something, I should buy. That was his nature. The second person who entered the jewelry shop was a thief. He does not want to buy anything, but he went there to verify that how should I come to this shop and steal the jewelry which they have. So he came to check on what jewelries they have, where they have kept it, and how he should steal it. See, the same shop, but it became the field for both of the people to just express their action. So the same field can be given to multiple people to act. The how we will act will depend entirely upon our nature. I'm giving you another example. Okay, this I'm taking from Mahabharata. When Bhagwan Krishna went to actually negotiate or become the messenger of Pandavas to see if he can avoid the war, or to just tell them that we should avoid the war. Why don't we just mediate? So he became the mediator to actually settle the war. That let's not go into the war, because war means a lot of bloodshed. A lot of people on both sides will lose life. What is the point and all? When he went there at that time, whatever he said, he did not use any bias statement. He was telling the truth only. But Duryodhan got very upset with Bhagwan Krishna, and he said he is actually siding with them, and he's come to actually put us down. He does not favor us at all. I would say arrest him. At that time, just remember one thing: when the entire thing was happening, other people were also sitting in that at a place where the discussion was going on. So Bhagwan Krishna stood up and showed his Vishwarupa there. So this description comes in Mahabharata. So he showed his Vishwarupa there. Now you remember one thing: Arjun was not there. So Arjun saw the same Vishwarupa during the Bhagavad Gita, when Bhagavad Gita was given by Bhagwan to Arjun. At that time, Arjun requested Bhagwan, "You are not the one I know of. I want to see your real form." At that time, Bhagwan showed his Vishwarupa to Arjun, which comes in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In here, when he went for mediation and avoid the war between Pandavas and Kauravas, at that time also Bhagwan Krishna showed the Vishnu, because as Duryodhan told the people that arrest him and all, he said, you can't touch me. First of all, the one who goes for negotiation or who's mediating, they call it the messenger. There is a policy that they cannot be harmed, they cannot be arrested, they cannot be done like that, anything at all. Why? Because they are actually carrying a message, and their effort is only to resolve the conflict. Anyway, so when that Vishwarupa was shown by Bhagwan, at that time, remember, because Duryodhan's intellect was completely in a gross mindedness, he just could not see that form. He just could not understand who Bhagwan is. At that place, Vidur and all understood, and he prostrated unto Bhagwan, and then he decided not to participate in the war from either sides. Vidur, he just left the palace. Even when Bhishma Pitama knew who Bhagwan Krishna was, and that description comes when Bhishma Pitama is lying on the bed of arrow, Sharshaya. At that time, when Bhagwan goes there to, Bhagwan takes Yudhishthir to Bhishma Pitama, because Yudhishthir has Vishada after the war. I told you in the beginning of the session, beginning of the podcast also, that Yudhishthir got into Vishada or misplaced compassion at the end of the war. Arjun got into it in the beginning of the war. So for Yudhishthir, Bhagwan did not give Bhagavad Gita or anything. Bhagwan took him to Bhishma Pitama. When Bhishma Pitama was lying on the Sharshaya waiting for his time turn to go away from this world, at that time when Bhagwan was walking towards him, at that time there's a description which comes in Srimad Bhagavat that Bhishma Pitama prostrated him externally, then closed his eyes and prostrated unto Bhagwan Krishna within him also. It's the word which comes there, Hridistam Pujayamasa. He closed his eyes and worshipped Bhagwan within him also, and in the external form also he offered his prostration. So Bhishma Pitama also knew who Bhagwan was. So it's not that they were not aware. So they also understood what Bhagwan has showed their Vishwarupa and all. But Duryodhan just could not see. Why? Because of his internal nature. Sometimes I'll tell you, I was discussing with someone. Sometimes we are not able to see things the way it is appearing. We see things according to how according to the vision we are carrying. The thing may not be the exact way we have understood. We understand according to our own vision. So here it says swakarye means we act into the field of external nature according to our internal nature. Means what? The external field of action is the creation and or the objects of the creation. We use the word called jagat ke vishay, the subjects or the objects of the creation. Meaning what? The main motivating factor of pushing us into action is our internal nature, which we have worked upon, developed, or which has manifested within us. And the field of action is going to be the objects of the external creation. That is why Bhagavan said, Guna Guneshu Vartante. In case the biggest thing we need to understand and grasp from this is that if a man acts according to his or her attachments and aversion, and we end up getting into swayed by them, and while acting in the world, the biggest mishap which is going to happen with is that most of the time, or I would say 10% of the time, we will end up overlooking our duties, and we will look down upon wisdom, or we will be giving up our wisdom. Both these things will vanish from our internal system. So we will end up overlooking our duties, and we'll end up looking down upon wisdom. Means what? That which is ought to be done by us, we will not end up doing that. And that which is not supposed to be done by us, we'll end up doing all those things. Meaning what? Our factor which will lead us into action is that whatever seems dear to me, whatever gives me immediate happiness, most likely it is there that we'll end up doing that. And that which is my duty, according to the stature of mine in the society, in the family system, in the company, I may end up overlooking that or giving up that. And means what? That those things which I am moving away from just because they are not dear to me, it is most likely that those are the field of my dharma, those are the field of my duty. Means what? I'll end up giving up my duty. And whenever I act according to what is dear to me, means what? According to what what is placed in my attachment basket within me, when I act according to that, and I try to make a life according to that, it is quite likely possible that most of the times or sometimes I will end up giving up my own duty, and end up doing somebody else's duty. There is a very high possibility of that. Another thing we should know is that if we end up doing our action, or setting out into the field of action according to what is dear to me, maybe it is possible that sometimes I may be fulfilling my duty or some of my duties, but there is a very very high possibility, or there is most possibilities that I will be giving up my own duty for doing or chasing that which is dear to me. Tada swadharma parityagaha. When a human being makes his attachment and aversion as the primary factor for, or telling him what to act, him or her to what to act and all, and that becomes the primary factor which leads one's life, then remember, then their vision towards life will be that since this thing is dear to me, or I like this, that is why this should be my field of action. And because it is something in which is, which has got likelihood of me liking it very much, that's why this is going to be my field of action. That will create his field of action according to his likings and disliking. So I would use the word raga and dvesha simply here as liking and disliking. Attachment and aversion is much deeper. But when we start acting in the field of action according to our likes and dislikes, just because I like something, I will consider that as my field of action. I'll end up chasing them in and out. And just because something I dislike, even though people may call that as my duty, but I will not end up doing it. Meaning what? I am not leading the life correctly at all if this is the way I lead my life. We will fulfill our duties only if, as a human being, we think this way and lead our life, that because this is my duty according to the stature of mine in my family, society, and the company, that is why I must do it, whether I like it or not. And because it is because something is not my duty, that is why I should not do it whether I like it also or not. So this thing should be clear in our mind, that liking and disliking cannot be the parameter for me to decide where to act and where not to act. Sometimes those things which are my duties, I may find it difficult to do, I may find it tough to do. That doesn't mean that I should give up. Why? Because my path of salvation, I'll use this word this way. Salvation means exhaustion of my vasanas, exhaustion of my karma phala, my fruits of my action. That path is through fulfilling of my own duties. We get our duties according to that only. So remember, whichever place we fall into in terms of a stature in the society, family, and system, it is according to our vasanas and karma phala. So if somebody is completely aware and always conscious about the fact that I must follow my duty diligently, and if that awareness of duty becomes the leading factor or motivating factor for somebody to set out into action, or love for God becomes the cause of setting me into action, then remember, both these things will ensure that you are within the line of your duties. And at least the minimum you will end up doing is that you will at least try to fulfill your duty. Otherwise, what if this is not there, what will happen? Paradharmanushtanam bhavati. If you are not doing our duty, then the question should arise, whose duty are we doing? See, we are not doing our duty, we are doing something or the other. And the question should arise, whose duty are we doing? I'll tell you one thing honestly, okay? I have seen, because I've worked through corporate life, I've seen people who, in the spree of helping others, end up doing others' work. And because of that, I've seen employees getting impacted and going into performance management programs just because they ended up doing somebody else's duty and overlooked their own. So these are the things we must watch out for. Helping others do come, but remember, I told you, in the flight the announcement comes, before helping others, help yourself first. Your first priority should always be your duty. Your first priority cannot be help. Helping others can be one of the facets of your life, and I'm saying you must do it because that's a way for you to grow in the society also. That's a way for or other people to know your capability also, but not at the cost of your duty. Your duty should come first. So I told you earlier in the podcast episodes earlier also, Sanatan Dharam is a duty bound culture. I told you earlier, some people asked me question about it. Why did you say that we are not right driven culture? We are duty bound culture. Because it is very clear, through your duties only your path for salvation opens. If you do not end up doing your duty, trust me, I'm telling you, you are locking the gate of that path which is going to free you from everything. You are yourself locking it. So remember one thing, your duty should come first, all the other things later on. So what is the meaning of this word called paradharma? Paradharma here, the literal meaning should become that which does not fall in the ambit of my own duty. That which does not fall in the category of my own duty, all that will fall into the category of paradharma. Para means others. It is others dharma. The thing is, others dharma is others dharma. You can help them, but you should not end up taking that as your own duty. Because why? Because, see, another facet I'll explain you as I move along. Since it is falling in the ambit of somebody else's duty, and it will be good for that person and to do his or her own duty, but for me it is definitely not advisable. I can help someone, but don't end up taking up somebody else's duty. Remember one thing, doing somebody else's duty or fulfilling somebody else's duty is considered as a big error and fault or big mistake according to our scriptures. In the Sanatan Dharma scriptures, paradharma thing you will come at many places. We do not advise this at all. I told you one thing clearly, that does not mean that you stop helping others. Please do not mistake my words. Please do not misunderstand my words. Please do not construe a wrong meaning of my words. My point is very clear. Your duty should come first. If you have spare time and energy after doing your duty, you are more than welcome to help others. But helping others should not come at the cost of your own duty. Simple as that. That is what I'm trying to say here. Now, another aspect that we should know here is that, another aspect we should know here is that the moment we give up our own duty, I just told you a few minutes back also, I'm just highlighting it here. The moment you give up your own duty, you are not going to sit idle, right? You are going to do some action. If you are not doing your own duty, that means what? You are actually ending up doing somebody else's duty. Because you are acting, but you are not doing your duty. If you are acting but not doing your own duty, that technically means you are doing somebody else's duty. Because the moment you give up or your own duties, remember, you will end up taking somebody else's duty. And here, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna says, it is not beneficial for any human being. Bhagwan said, I have created this creation in such a way, if all of us stand up and do our duty well, trust me, if all of us stand up and do our duty well, trust me, there is nothing which will stop us from making this creation one of the best places to live. The problem is this only, that there are many in this creation who are not doing their own duty, and they are ending up doing somebody else's duty. That is why there is enough chaos in this creation. I'm just giving you a small example. Okay, we have this system called police in the society. Now trust me, if every policeman does his duty well, do you think it is not possible to make this place a safe place for us to live? The problem is not that the police department is not there. The problem is that many in that department are not doing their duty correctly. That is the problem. Or, there are some people who have got into that department who are there to actually destroy that department. That is the problem. The thing is, if all of us end up doing our own duty, trust me, there is nothing which can stop this creation from becoming one of the best places to live. Judges, you can take any profession, I will use medicine, any profession you see. If we all of us take up our duty seriously and put our 100% effort to do our duty correctly, then trust me, we will become contributor for beautifying this creation. We will be moving hand in hand with God for to facilitate his creation to become one of the best places to live. I told you before also. See, animals and plants and all, they follow their things very well the way they have been programmed. Human being, I tell you, oh, I'm minding my words by not using it, but I'm telling you, human beings are one being God has created, who has the spade in their hand to destroy also, and who have their cultured hands to nurture the creation also. Man can do both. You will see that in every facet, huh? In family also, those people who are part of the family, if all of them come together, remember that family can be made one of the best families, happy families, peaceful families, contented families, and growing family, prosperous family. But if within the family some mole comes there, and someone is there who's, I would use the word, disrupting factor, which is born in the family, those people can end up destroying the family also. you know I don't have to go far. You just read the newspaper, you will understand how the things are going around. So Bhagwan says, because some human beings are listening to their likings and dislikings, or nurturing their likings and dislikings, or obeying their likings and dislikings, and slowly gradually what is happening, by constantly listening to their likings and dislikings and obeying them and following them, they are making them stronger and stronger day by day. And since this human being is listening to liking and disliking, and not listening to the duty, the voice which is arising within, that this is your duty, end up doing it, is not giving ear to that, is not or giving attention to that at all, slowly gradually the duty, the voice of duty which is arising within, will slowly gradually become weaker and weaker, and will become lighter and lighter. Remember, this is a truth of life, that whatever we nurture, whatever we respect, whatever we focus upon, remember that thing, that will start becoming stronger and stronger within us. So I'll tell you one thing honestly, okay? When I sit with people and I sit with family also, one thing I definitely tell them, you know, it's okay to be aware of what is happening around you. But trust me, another thing you should be mindful of is, do not end up watching news too much. Do not encouraging in those kind of discussions which are argumentative in nature, and which are creating split within you, enter your system. Knowing things happening around you and getting deep down into the news of things is completely two different things. One is changing your cultural system within you, changing your thought process within you, is becoming strong and strong within you. Another thing, if you just read through it and go, you are not letting it enter your system. You are aware, but you are not creating knowledge stream of that. You are not giving space for it in the intellect. Aware means it is only at the surface level. It is not getting stored deep down into your memory. So news, no, I tell you honestly one thing, I know families who seeing the news have started doubting their own children, because they keep giving ear to those news in and out. Don't do it. It's not correct at all. I told you before also, I refuse to accept this fact that there are only bad things happening around us. The biggest fact of life is there are many good things happening around us. But yes, many good things do not end up making into breaking news. That is the problem. Breaking news, what? It is sure to break your system inside you. Don't give too much air to that at all. It is not required for you to know everything in detail. Some things at the surface level, knowing them is enough. I told you in one of the sessions before, I used to sit with my Puja Guruji, Param Puja Guruji, Swami Tejomayananji, many times when I was studying also. So whenever I used to go to Guruji in the morning, no, I used to see that Guruji is reading newspaper. So Guru, the thing is, Gurus are really, really, amazing to just sit down and observe them. Not observe them as that we are observer and they are being observed or something, but I'm telling you, just by looking at them, with complete calm and composure, there are many things you will learn. So I'll see Puja Guruji reading newspaper, and trust me, I'm telling you, he spent around 30 minutes in the news. But I see that he glanced through the headlines of all the pages, and some news which is worthy of being discussed, he will just put the newspaper down, look at each one of us and say, oh, this also happened, and then he'll again go back into the newspaper. I'll see that in 30-35 minutes the whole newspaper is done. Means what? Headlines are the only thing which is required. Only those which you feel that you want to know, go deeper into it. Don't end up picking anything and everything. That's not correct also. You don't need to know everything. Trust me, I'm telling you, you cannot know everything anyway. Accept that fact first. So here, the thing is, whatever you give air to, whatever you give attention to, whatever you will start accepting as yours or start holding on to, it will start to become stronger and stronger within you. So it is, and whatever you disrespect within you or you end up disliking over a period of time, remember, slowly, gradually, that will start becoming far from you. See, I'm honestly telling you, those people, this is also a fact we should know. Only when you dissect life much deeper, you will understand this. Now, remember one thing. Just think of somebody who you have ever hated in life. You may not have given and or allowed that person to even talk to you ever. Why? Because the hatred was very strong. But let me ask you one thing directly. Have you ever forgotten them? No. That also you should know. Meaning what? From outside, you have placed that person inside, and then you keep running away from them outside. Many times, yes, I understand, and people don't change easily, but that doesn't mean that people don't change at all. That is also not correct. Yes, it takes time. Only when person accepts that they have a problem, then only the change can happen. But it is definitely there in the world. Change do happen, and that is why we are studying spirituality. Spirituality is to change ourselves, not to change the world. I've told that in many sessions before also. So whatever we disrespect, it will start to go far from us. Those thoughts which we entertain, we respect, remember, those thoughts slowly, gradually, will start to become stronger. We have to make the decision what is good or bad. And those thoughts which we do not respect within us, remember, those thoughts slowly, gradually will stop arising in our intellect, will stop to appear in our intellect. In the same way, in the external world also, this is the same thing which happens. Those who we do not respect, remember, they will stop coming to us. Remember that, and those we will respect, they will always be around us most of the time. That is the way you need to understand. The one thing we should all look out for is, and we should understand this clearly in our intellect, is that in case we have carved out a life where we respect likings and dislikings very much, then remember one thing: if we are respecting our likings and dislikings very much, one spiritual accident which happens with us is that they will start to become stronger and stronger day by day, and slowly, gradually, they will steal away our wisdom, and they will steal away our spiritual practices. And what will happen? Slowly, gradually, growing day by day, we will end up reaching a point where our wisdom will also become a supporter of our likings and disliking. It will start justifying. That will be the biggest mishap of any spiritual sadhak. And it happens in our day-to-day life, that our wisdom will also become a supporter of our likings and disliking, and it will become a factor for nurturing actions based on our likings and dislikings, based on our raga and dvesha. It will end up reaching a point that it will start to find out valid reasons or justifications for giving up one's duty. You will hear, I'm sure you must have met people in the society who giving up their duty justify that I gave up the duty and I was right in giving up that. Why? Because they have trained their wisdom in such a way, that it will end up supporting, and it will start to look for arguments to support their act of giving up their own duty. And you know when we end up doing actions according to our dislikings, remember the what will happen as the outcome. It will create it will nurture something called anger. It will start to breed anger within us. It will start to breed revengeful attitude within us, and slowly, gradually, it will lead us into acts of inflicting pain on others, act of violence within us. It will lead us to acts of violence. I told you, when I was meeting some children some months back, and I was sitting down and discussing with them. They were small kids, so I asked them one simple question: are there any one of you who have hit their siblings or hit their counterpart or friends? If yes, raise your hand. And I said, don't worry, I'm not going to scold you that you hide it and all. I'm trying to teach you something. That's the reason I'm asking. Remember, of the 16, 17 students, at least 7, 8 of them have raised their hands. Why? Because that's how they are. They think that they are doing right. And I asked them, beta, why did you hit them, or why did you hit them? She said, he did something. I thought there is no other way for me to correct. I said, do you think you have the responsibility and you are the authority to correct someone? At that time, they started understanding. So sometimes, with kids also, we need to catch their thought process, because that thought process is what is leading them into doing what they are doing. So if we end up acting according to our feeling of disliking, aversion, or hatred, and sometimes, or anything, or we start giving air to that, remember, it will start creating revengeful attitude within us, and at the end, it will lead us into acts of violence. It will lead her into feelings of violence within us. Remember, if the feeling of violence has started to come within you, it will not be far that you'll end up doing something wrong. So it is high time that we should start controlling them. And the end result of hatred, aversion, or disliking is that oh violence at the level of, at the physical level and at the mental level. There are two kind of violences. Violence at the level of physical level, violence at the physical level, and violence as mental level. So what will happen? Wisdom will become a servant. Bound, wisdom will become bound by our likings and disliking, attachments and aversions, and deep attachments and hatred. And what will happen? Wisdom will start to justify our violent acts, and will start to say that what I'm doing is right. So, this is what proves that why we must train our life according to what Bhagwan Krishna has said to us. Now, with this, we'll move into verse number 35, where Bhagwan talks about, what is wrong with it, what happens, and if we continue to give air to such things. Bhagwan says here why we should stop of this kind of an act. Bhagwan is explaining in the next verse, and with proper justification. Bhagwan is saying, verse number 35. I'll read the verse first, then I'll read Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya, and then we'll take up the meaning. Before I read the verse, I'll read the connecting Bhashya of Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji, connecting verse number 34 to 35. Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji in the connecting Bhashya says, Tatra ragadvesha prayuktaha manyate shastrartham api anyatha paradharma api dharmatvad anushtheya eva iti tad asat. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, a person who is completely inflicted by this nature of liking and disliking, or is set out into the field of action by likings and disliking and gives air to them too much, such a person, and completely understands the opposite meaning of what has been said in the scriptures also. Those things which are explained by scriptures, this person end up understanding it completely opposite of that, and also along with that, doing somebody else's duty, he also he takes up as his own duty, and thinks that it is supposed to be fulfilled by me. But such thing is a big mistaken understanding of this person. To explain that, Bhagwan is saying the next verse number 35. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavaha. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavaha. I'll read the Bhashya Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji on this verse. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, Shreyan prasyastaraha swadharmaha swadharmaha vigunaha api vigata gunaha api anushthiyamanaha paradharmat swanushthitat sadgunyena sampaditat api swadharme sthitasya nidhanam maranam api shreyah paradharme sthitasya jivitat kasmat paradharmo bhayavaho narakadi lakshanam bhayam avahati yatah. Brilliant verse again. Now you see how much emphasis Bhagwan is laying on human beings, we all, to focus on our own duties. See another brilliant verse. The way Bhagwan Krishna explains this verse is awesome actually. Bhagwan says, Swadharmaha vigunaha api shreyan. Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna says is that one thing you must firmly understand and nurture inside you, or place it inside your intellect, at firmly take up this understanding within you, that according to my age, according to my stature in the society, according to my caste creed, according to my nature, according to my all these things, whatever is my identity in the society, according to that identity is what my duties are understood, duties are made. And whatever duties are made according to these things which I mentioned, that is what will be called as swadharma. Swadharma means one's own dharma. Swa means one's own dharma, our duty. That will be categorized as one's own duty. Now the only condition for that, at which Bhagwan says here, is that this identification of yours in the society should be a valid identification. Valid means it should be something which should be a legitimate understanding of yours, legitimate identity of yours. Don't take any illegitimate identity and say that this will become my dharma and I'll end up doing that. You hear what Bhagwan says here is that By force, you cannot consider yourself as something. Don't force yourself to consider yourself as something and then start following that duty. It will not work like that. You cannot forcefully consider yourself as something and follow that duty and consider that as right. Whatever is legitimate, that alone is acceptable. And in within me also, that is what should become my nature within me. That should be the environment which should manifest within me. And in the outside, in the society also, that is what is accepted by society as well. Now, Swadharma is categorized, or Swadharma is, or one's own duty is understood at three levels. Okay, that is what we need to take up now. First is at the level of society. At the, we call it what, Samaj. At social level, well, there is something which is set up as my own duty. At the social level, we call it Samajik Star. That's one. And within that, there are two more categorizations which are there. One is at the level of what has been expounded in the scriptures and what is being understood in the society, or the society talks about as my duty, or society considers as my duty. And the second thing which happens is according to my own personal nature. My own nature, some duties are according to that. When my own nature will be how I identify according to the way the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, the mixture of three gunas is exists within me. And according to that, my nature is supposed to be understood. The third is going to be according to the spiritual thought process I have, or the spiritual bent of mind I have. According to that also, a set of duties is come out of me. I was, sharing in the group today, apologizing for the delay in the episode because of some sudden demise in the family. I could not spend time to record an episode because I was too much tied up with all the rituals also for the last 15 days for that particular mishap it has happened. So, I was saying, and I was apologizing. Why? Because I consider it as my duty and commitment towards all of you to give you an episode regularly and in time. And if I'm not able to do that, I must apologize, because I must understand it as my commitment and duty, and I'm answerable to all of you for that. Actually, so that is according to the spiritual thought process I have. So I would say that according to my inner makeup, when I say spiritual thought process also can be put into my personal nature. The personal nature will be according to the, what you call that, according to the mixture of three gunas, how they are placed within me, and according to the spiritual thought process, or cultural thought process I have. According to that also my Swadharma is decided, and manifest my Swadharma, my duty manifests according to that. The third urge, which is most important, is according to, there is something called eternal Swadharma. Eternal Swadharma means Paramarthik Swadharma, we call it. Paramarthik Swadharma means what? That we are all that supreme consciousness, a Satchidananda Brahm, that is our actual core nature. And according to that, certain duties are set out for me that will become my actual Swadharma. So three levels we spoke about. One is at the level of society level. Well, what society decides as my duty, which will be according to what scripture outlines as my duty, and along with that, what society considers as my duty. The second will be according to my personal nature, and in the personal nature we put two things there, according to the mixture of three gunas within me, the level of three gunas within me, and according to my spiritual and cultural bent of mind or thought process. The third is going to be the Paramarthik, which is the eternal Swadharma, that which is my actual Swadharma, that I am at the core, my soul is nothing but supreme consciousness alone. So I have certain duties towards that. That will become that. you know, uh, at the level of we as jivas, as remember, at the core of us, we are that supreme self alone. Core of us, I said, huh? But the difference between each one of us is according to our antakarna. And I said that in many of my episode. And my actual eternal duty, my actual core swadharma, core duty is actually understanding the self and gaining a level to firmly abide in the self. So my duty through my normal day-to-day life will be, unless and until I reach that end goal, will be slowly, gradually walk towards that path of understanding the self and reaching, slowly, gradually progressing on that path to reach one day or in any particular life that level of gaining firm abidance in the self. When I'm walking towards that direction and with that goal in my mind, then what will be my duty? That I should lead a life which is conducive of manifesting an antakarana which is ready to gain that knowledge, and that will be my actual duty. Why I should avoid nishiddha karma, why I should not do wrong things and all, because that is going to take me away, far away from my core duty towards my eternal self. That is one of the things which we must think and understand. Let's think a little bit deeper into these aspects now. Okay, since whatever I said now, you must have got that. Now, if we little bit think more, will try to understand this. Is that for example, we adapt a lifestyle or we manifest or develop a lifestyle for leading our life, which becomes an obstacle towards obstacle for me, or which creates an obstacle for me achieving my eternal goal of gaining the self. But even though it is like creating an obstacle for gaining the self or walking that path of spirituality, but it has been accepted, it is acceptable by the society also, and it is acceptable by the scripture also, or it has been approved by the scripture and accepted by the society. Should we end up doing that? Now, the thing I will say is, especially I'm talking about seekers, I'm not talking about other people at all here where in the world. This is not a general conversation going on. I'm actually addressing the seekers, addressing spiritual students here. The one thing we all must keep in mind is we must keep our eternal goal in mind, that this human life we must utilize to move towards that goal. However little we are able to move doesn't matter, but that goal should not be overlooked at all. That goal should always be kept in my mind, in our mind. For example, here it says, Goswami Tulsidas ji has said at one place, Anjan kaha aankh jo phoote, bahutak kahau kaha lau. That anjan means that kajal, that which we just put in our eye, females put in our eye, in their eyes, is to actually it's a little bit of decorative thing also. It's part of their own what do you call that, decoration also. Oh, but just imagine that which is used for that, if that becomes a factor for destroying my eyes, then I should give that up, right? It cannot become one of the cause for creating disruption for my eye. So Goswami Tulsidas ji, he had written this to Meera ji. At that particular time, he sent a letter to Meera ji with that. And Bhagwan Bhashyakar, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has said it in Brahma Sutra Bhashya, and he's written one line where he says, you cannot decorate a marriage procession at the cost of life of the groom. Means what? It doesn't matter whether groom is alive also or not. Our main goal is actually decorating the marriage procession. You can't think like that, right? For a marriage procession, groom is the center. That's the main. Your marriage procession is secondary. You cannot make marriage procession primary and say that, even if the groom dies, doesn't matter. At the cost of his life, we'll decorate the marriage procession. You can't do that, right? And that is the same thing in which Bhagwan on Bhashyakar has mentioned there also. All the Vedas has got one core word which is also called Mahavakya, called Tattvamasi. And this Mahavakya, this eternal declaration of the Vedas, we have four Mahavakyas. Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma, and I am Atma Brahma. These are coming from four different Vedas. Each Veda has got their own Mahavakya. These are all explained in Upanishads. It's there in Brahadaranyaka Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, and it goes like that. So these are all coming from Upanishads. So, you cannot think of, why I use the word of marriage procession and all. You cannot think that by killing or by destroying the Mahavakya of Vedas, I'll try to create a particular life or I'll try to decorate my life. No. Remember, all the other things are nothing but marriage procession. Kabir Das ji said, Dulha dulhan mil gaye, phiki padi barat. In front of the bride and groom, the marriage procession loses its charm, because bride and groom are the most important thing in a marriage, right? In front of them, it's not that the marriage procession or the marriage function is much better than even or more beautiful than even the bride and the groom. Bride and the groom are important. In the same way, if we end up destroying or overlooking the Mahavakyas or the eternal declaration of the Vedas and try to create a life, I'm sorry, that's not the correct way to lead a life at all. All what I do, all what I choose in life, all what I try to achieve in life should be in line with my eternal goal of gaining firm abidance in the self. It doesn't matter in which life I'm able to get it, but at least I should be able to move an inch towards that. Sometimes what happens, we end up creating a life that forget about moving an inch closer to that. We end up creating or manifesting a life where we walk completely the opposite direction. Means what? We are going farther and farther from it. Forget about reaching it by any way. We are going against the direction of that. So that's not the correct way to lead a life. As explained in the statement of Kabir Das ji, if the Mahavakyas of Vedas, I'm able to adapt it in my life and I'm able to establish it in my life, then remember, the entire marriage procession of this creation will lose its charm, and we may not even need it. Now, Swadharma, or one's own duty, is at many levels. Now let's go deeper down into that. One is that which is accepted as our duty by the society. Means whatever stature I have gained in the society, remember, this is the most gross form of my duty. So gross, subtle, subtlest, we'll go in that way. So the most gross form of my duty is the duties which are set for me according to the stature I have gained in the society or the level I have reached in the society. So this is the most external and most gross in nature. Now, when I compare the social level duties vis-a-vis the duties which are set out or explained in the scriptures, for me, according to the stature I've attained in the society, remember, the social level duties, the duties accepted by or handed over to me by the society will become gross, and the duties which are assigned to me by the scriptures according to the stature I have in the society will become subtler as compared to the social duties I'm talking about. So according to the as per the scripture, whatever stature I have achieved, duties will be according to that explained in the particular scripture only. And remember, the scriptural duties assigned to me will become subtler as compared to the external duties or the gross duties which are given to me by the society, and the scriptural duties will be more permanent in nature, more firm in nature. Meaning, for example, a man has reached a particular position in the society. Now, that position is his external identity in the society. Now, remember that external identity is only going to be particular for a particular period of time. Now, for example, I'm giving you, somebody becomes an IAS officer. Now, just giving you an example, somebody becomes an IAS officer. So the term of an IAS, term of him being an IAS officer is limited, right? It's not permanent. He will be starting his duty at a particular point in time and retiring from those duties at one particular point in time. Since it has got a period of time, that is why this will become more gross in nature and more temporary as compared to the scriptural duties assigned to me. What are the scriptural duties? Now let's consider that. Duties which are assigned to me according to my varna in the society: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. There, the duties are explained by the scriptures. When I say duties are expounded by the Vedas, I'm talking about the Varna Dharma. Brahman have got their own set of duties expounded in the scriptures. So is Kshatriya also, so is Vaishya also, so is Shudra also. Each one of them, each one of these four have been assigned duties according to the Varna they are into. And that identity of mine is more expansive, more over encompassing than my social identity. Now, remember, me being an officer is limited to the office. As you know, I cannot be the officer, I cannot be the manager, I cannot be the CEO of which I am in the company. I cannot be that at my home. Your position at the office will not work at home. In the same way, we need to understand, and our duties which are given by society are limited to society only, as far as I am in the position, as long as I am in the position. For example, the role of a manager or CEO or a director I cannot play at home, even though the same me is in that position in the office, but I cannot dictate terms according to that position at my home. In the same way, the moment one takes sannyasa, that identity becomes permanent for that person, and it becomes for the longest period of time. Because sannyasi will become a sannyasi till the time that sannyasi dies. And remember, according to our capability is what society gives us an identity. According to our capability, according to our qualification, society gives us an identity, and it identifies us in that particular form. But that identity is only given to us for a particular point in time. The scriptural identity, it starts from my birth and it goes up till my death, and it is given to me keeping my parameter of birth and my life in mind. So that is why the scriptural duty becomes more encompassing, more pervasive than the social duties. Now, one thing we should understand very well, deeper in us, is that the scriptural identity given to us is according to is given to us keeping in mind my previous births as well. It keeps in mind my previous birth. It does not look at only my physical ability alone. It does not look at my physical capability alone. On physical capability alone does not become the only parameter to decide upon the scriptural duty. The one thing which a scriptural duty will see is that what is the earning I have done in my previous life. Now remember, when I'm saying earning, I said that in many sessions before also. Whatever we earn here in terms of money and wealth is limited to this life alone. We do not carry anything out of that into the next life. But using that, we can develop another earning also, or we can invest that into different thing also, which is what I call as the earning of punya. So what I have earned in my previous life, because of which I am born as a person with these kind of natures in this particular life. According to that is, I am born in a particular family or lineage. And according to those things, scripture gives me one identity. Now remember one thing, as far as scriptures are concerned, at the level of scripture, a scripture has given permission to a 9-year-old child also to take sannyas. Scripture will give a permission to a 9-year-old child also to take sannyas, because that is according to his previous life's earning. There the earning, I call it, is punya, and the spiritual knowledge gained in the previous life, the cultural firmness gained in this previous life, the cultural identity gained in the previous life. Now, even though scripture will give a permission to a 9-year-old also to take sannyas, but remember, society will not give that permission. Now, the scriptural identity actually is according to my spiritual standpoint and according to the level of three gunas within me. According to that is the scriptural identity given to me. So that is one thing which we need to understand. The third level we need to understand is, what in my own vision, what am I? What kind of a personality I have? See, all of us know our own personality very well. You may overlook, that's a different thing. And many discussions it come up that when they say, I used to be like this, but now I'm noticing that I was not right, I'm changing now. Your vision is changing. That change happens only with cultural and spiritual education. You should remember that. So the third level is, in my own eyes, what am I? In my own vision, what am I? What are my natural thought propensities? What is my nature? What is my habit? What is the level of three gunas within me? Now, in certain people, good thought process is natural in them. In certain people, the level of trigunas are maintained in them, but that's natural, not out of effort. Now, when these things happen, who will identify them first? Who will know them first? I myself. Now I'm giving you an example. I told you one joke earlier also. There was one person who went to a astrologer and said, I'm very disturbed. I'm not able to sleep at all. Can you guide me something? So this astrologer thought, I do not know what to say. So astrologer said, there is one Guruji satsang happening next week. Why don't you go there? So that person went there, just because the astrologer said, he went there. So he looked for a corner and sat there. The moment Swamiji said Om and did his Mangalacharan, this person went off to sleep. Now remember, it's not Satvik, it's not Rajasic also. Here it is Tamasic. He went to the astrologer and fell down on his feet. You are great, man. I have not been able to sleep for last 2 weeks, and the solution you gave, I slept for that whole 1.5 hours of the satsang. I just got a very sound sleep there. So it's not like that. We need to understand. We should know, according to our level of three gunas, we will manifest certain things. Those people who feel sleepy in scriptural discussions and all, please understand, in them there is an abundance of tamoguna. Those people who think of job and other things, duties and all while sitting in the satsang, you should understand there is predominance of rajoguna in them. Those people who are able to concentrate, focus, and grasp points from what is told in the satsang, remember, they must understand that they have aspects of sattva guna in them. Without sattva guna, understanding is not possible, learning is not possible, spiritual learning though definitely not possible at all. Now, who will identify this change first? One, we ourselves. Earlier in the olden times, certain acts I used to like, and certain things I don't used to like. Now remember one thing, what I like and dislike, who will be able to tell that first? I myself. These things will be known to others later, it will be known to you first. We ourselves will be able to understand our liking and disliking first, and there is nothing called there is no discussion or no argument about it doesn't suit the normal growth propensity and all. There is nothing like that. This is what we should understand as our natural propensities, and this is something which will happen on both sides. Means those which I give up, those where I rise, where I fall, where I rise. Remember, this is possible at both sides, that I will be able to identify it first, where I am rising and where I am falling. Now we will start knowing there are people who discuss us many things with me. They tell me, earlier I used to get agitated very fast, now I am able to control. I don't get angry very fast now, I don't get impacted very fast now. Not that the situations have changed, not that the external people have changed, but my reaction has changed. Who will know that first? Me, myself. Now people say, now, Swamiji, Anishji, I'm very quiet and peaceful now. I don't get irritated very fast now. Remember, according to my nature, within me, the acceptance and give up keeps happening. It keeps going up and down according to that. Now, one is my social identity, and one is my scriptural identity, and the third is my identity in my own vision, my own eyes. And in my own eyes, whatever identity I have, uh, it according to what it is made and it breaks, or what is taken up and what is given up, remember, according to that also my duties are constructed, my duties are assigned. This is some investigation, or this is some watch out we all have to do ourselves. And this is something, if we really want to identify this well within us, for that also, as I just mentioned, we need sattva within us. Remember, the ability to introspect correctly also is an event of sattva guna within us. Without sattva guna, you cannot introspect. Without sattva guna, you cannot introspect correctly. Even if you try to introspect without sattva guna, remember, your intellect will start to justify your wrongdoings at that time, and will not let you introspect correctly. You will get into argumentation and justification of your act. Only an intellect with sattva guna only can understand and identify clearly where I have to act and where I have to give up. And this is something which Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna has said in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And he talks about sattvic, rajasic and tamasic, many factors over there. When the 18th chapter comes, we'll take up in detail. According to that identity, according to that identity, a human being, or each one of us try to work towards what to be given up and what to be taken up, and we start to increase either nivritti or pravritti. Nivritti means giving up, and pravritti means taking up. Okay, giving up and taking up. Pravritti nivritti, pravritti nivritti. This keeps up going on. As we grow up, we give up something, we take up something different. As we grow up, we give up something, we take up something different. That is how the life goes. From the childhood, we have given up so many things and we have taken up so many new things. In the spiritual line also, that is what happens. Whatever we have, we give up certain things to take up new things. Unless and until we give up something, we cannot take up something new. See, that is one thing which is very important, we as spiritual students should understand. You see, this is one thing we must learn, to give. I told you, in spirituality, you must know this thing, that without giving you cannot get. And remember, not everyone has got the capability, not everyone has got the guts to give. That is one thing we need to understand. And the one thing is that, yes, that is one factor, that many people do not have the guts or the capability to give. But remember, in spirituality, without giving, you cannot get. Why? Because that habit has to be nurtured later on, to give up things which you have acquired incorrectly and take up things which are to be acquired correctly. You have to give up, and giving up is what is sannyasa. The core meaning of the word samyak nyasati, total give up, is called sannyasa. Anyway, if sattvic intellect, if sattva is not there in our intellect, we will not be able to decide correctly what to take up and what to give up. And remember, giving up in itself is a very, very brilliant and uplifting thing. But it is not a brilliant and uplifting thing in itself, unless and until you do it correctly. So it should be with knowledge. You should take up and you should give up. And for knowledge, you need to have sattva. Where, when, how much, till when, and till where, etc., etc., these things matters. And for that, intellect need to have the right aptitude to decide. If you are not able to decide correctly in these aspects, remember, it will not fall into the category of swadharma. So, at the level of society, at the level of scripture, in my own eyes, I have got one identity. And what is the level to reach at these? What is the state to reach in these three levels? Now, that is something which we need to sit down and think. The level we need to reach is, I should manifest or create a life, I should walk a path which leads me to my eternal swadharma, not take me away from there. What is my eternal swadharma? That is firm abidance in my own self, knowing myself. Till we get the firm abidance in self, we should only keep one line there: moving closer and closer to self. To move closer and closer to self, I may have to move away from many things. So my goal should be moving closer and closer to self. I should experience myself as being closer to self. That is my actual eternal swadharma, and one alone is that, and that is called Swarupa Avasthan, or firm abidance in the self. In this way, our swadharma, our own duties, can be divided into four categories: social, scriptural, in my own eyes, according to my situation, according to my nature, and then my last and the final will be my eternal duty or eternal swadharma. Whether I should remain in action or I should walk towards giving up, it will prove, how will it prove whether what is right or wrong? That will be according to where I have reached in my journey of life. If acting in certain way gets me firm abidance, then that is advisable. If giving up in some way it gets me firm abidance in the self, then that is my particular duty. If giving up certain things is something which is going to lead me into firm abidance, then remember, giving up is what is going to be beneficial for you, and that will become my duty. If acting in a particular direction is going to give me firm abidance, then remember, acting in that direction will become your duty. Our core swadharma is not grahasthashram or sannyasashram. Neither it is uh, uh, maintaining ourselves in the Kurukshetra or in the Karma Kshetra, in the field of action. It's neither or maintaining us in the field of action or giving up. Remember, we as human beings remain in our field of action only so that our vasanas are exhausted, and with that exhaustion we feel ourselves lighter, and with that lighter self we are able to move towards our self discovery. Field of action is given up also for what? So that I can do more Shravan. Shravan means more, or listening to the scriptures, Manan, reflecting upon that scriptures, and Nididhyasan, trying to convert what I've listened from the scriptures into my own personal experience, so that I'm able to give so that I'm able to give time, adequate time for this. I end up giving in my field of action. There is no other benchmark at all. Core means the core of all of us is the supreme consciousness, the self. So all our what do you call that, at actions, all our decision, all our choices should circle around this last piece of duty, which is my eternal duty. I should keep that in mind while deciding the other three as well. The only and only parameter is that am I moving towards the self discovery or not. That should be the only benchmark we should maintain. That much for today. Rest we'll see in the next session. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. ओम तत्सत्.